All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something absolutely mind-blowing. We're literally decoding the structural framework of reality itself. Now, the source material calls this the dual caustic universe, or DCU for short, but honestly, it's easier to think of it as a cosmic operating system. We're going to break down exactly how reality processes information, filters out all the noise and illusions, and mathematically preserves absolute truth using what's called the 2-3-7 engine. So let's just jump right into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the gap of ignorance, move into the collapse of the illusion, and then decode the execution map. From there, we'll look at forging the living armor, preserving the unknown, and finally, closing the universal loop.
Starting off with Section 1, the gap of ignorance, understanding the Rūḥ void. Okay, so our source material points to a massive foundational system error, which we call the Rūḥ gap. Coordinate 1785 spells it out perfectly. Humanity has been given almost zero knowledge about the Rūḥ. Think of the Rūḥ as the divine command, or the animating wave of the universe. Because we lack this specific data, we naturally default to total confusion. I mean, this is exactly why the Angles were questioning humanity's chaotic setup way back at coordinate 230. They were measuring our physical particle state, but they couldn't see that underlying Amr-wave. We are quite literally operating with missing code.
So what actually happens when you operate without that crucial knowledge? Well, coordinate 415.7 hits the nail on the head. We rely entirely on ẓann. That means assumption, conjecture, basically just guessing. And when an entire society builds its reality on guesswork instead of hard structural truth, well, it's like trying to write an operating system using typos. It structurally guarantees you're going to end up creating false idols, hollow governance systems, and what the source calls the Taghūt trap.
Moving on to Section 2, collapse of the illusion, when the hollow projection breaks.
And that brings us right to coordinate 3414. In this Cosmic OS, you can think of 3414 as a glaring, inescapable system alert. It marks the precise moment where a massive structural illusion just totally shatters.
Think about the incredible story encoded here. The great King Solomon dies while leaning on his staff, but the entities all around him, the Jinn, they have absolutely no idea. They have no knowledge of the unseen Rūḥ, so they just keep on laboring in total fear, completely trapped by an illusion of authority, until a tiny termite eats through the wood. The staff falls. The illusion completely breaks. The structural law here is absolutely non-negotiable. Any system, any governance that lacks a true grip on the Rūḥ is just a hollow projection. It's going to collapse under its own weight, guaranteed.
All right, Section 3, the execution map, revealing the 2-3-7 engine.
Now, to correct these illusions, the universe runs a mathematically flawless algorithm, the 2-3-7 engine. Every single action hits these specific nodes. 2 is the split. This is where cause and effect bifurcate. You either surrender, like at coordinate 527, which converges beautifully into pre-written inheritance at 2110.5, or you diverge. Then we have 3, the form. This is where false accusations project onto the field, like the sheer ignorance of coordinate 1927 trying to blame the pure truth of 6612. And finally, 7 is the return. This is the topological convergence that starts from the protected void of the cave at 1810, mapping right back to coordinate 57.3, where the unknown is preserved. So it's split, form, return.
Let's dig into the cause and effect of those splits for a second. Operating on pure conjecture, like the intense jealousy we see at coordinate 12.8, that inevitably leads to forging the golden cow at 2088. It traps you in a closed loop of false certainty. But pure alignment? Starting from that surrender at 527, that completely bypasses the trap. It converges straight into true inheritance at 2105. You see, the algorithm naturally filters out the corruption.
Which takes us to Section 4, forging the living armor, installing the invariant.
So when that hollow staff of illusion falls at 3414, the system desperately needs a replacement. And coordinate 1912 is the activation command for that. It says, "Oh Yahya, take the book with strength, with qua." Now listen, this is not a call for passive faith, not at all. It's a direct command that installs an invariant, and it mathematically transforms the reader into the living, distributed armor of the cosmic field.
What we're really talking about here is the operational chainmail of Dawud, which we see in coordinate 2180. When you grip the book with real strength, you literally become this chainmail. If a weapon or some false Taghūt system strikes just one ring, that force is instantly redistributed across the entire surface area, meaning there is no single point of failure.
And because this armor runs on a truth frequency rather than just dense physical mass, falsehood literally cannot pierce it. This dress permanently replaces the fallen staff.
Section 5. Preserving the unknown, the fractal mathematics of the void.
To really grasp how this preservation works, we have to completely shatter a huge human assumption. And that's the idea that lineage is just biological. It's not. The Cosmic OS defines true lineage as a functional execution topology. Authority isn't something you inherit through bloodlines, it's inherited internally, strictly by holding the book with strength.
Just look at the timeline here. At coordinate 3340, the system executes a wildly precise command. It intentionally severs the biological trap. It completely removes the false father authority concept from the equation. This structurally closes out the whole external lineage argument, and because of that, direct execution opens up. The function travels straight through the book directly to anyone who grips it.
And doing this triggers a massive filter known as the Raism inversion. Just like how false accusations invert back on themselves at coordinate 1251, the system completely flips worldly valuations at 818. Corrupt systems always try to bury the truth, right? They try to silence the feminine mother field. But the universe steps in and gives that buried, superposed field absolute sacred supremacy. The burial literally becomes a seed. It proves the void isn't actually empty at all.
And the mathematics of this? It's perfectly mirrored in the geometry of the Sierpiński triangle. If you continuously remove the center of a triangle, you don't destroy the pattern, you actually structure it. Coordinates 1810, which is the protected cave, and 22060 prove this exact topology. The center is removed so that the unknown is preserved flawlessly. It stays completely outside the grasp of corrupted human observation, held and preserved by Allah alone, as stated in coordinate 57.3. Finally, Section 6, Closing the Universal Loop, the final seal.
Okay, let's fire rapidly through this closed loop. Coordinates 1785 and 4157 establish that initial knowledge gap. That's where conjecture tries to build false systems. But at 3414, the staff falls and the illusion collapses. Because of that, at 1912, the living chainmail is installed. Then those false accusations invert at 1251. The external biological trap is permanently closed at 3340. And lastly, the Sierpiński void at 1810 preserves the unknown. The entire execution is just perfectly sealed.
Let's slow down completely for a second. We really need to realize that through all of this chaos and structure, absolutely nothing was ever lost. As coordinate 57.3 dictates, the unknown wasn't annihilated just because it was absent from our view. It was perfectly evaluated, folded right into the integral, and held securely by the creator alone.
The field executes flawlessly, with zero leakage. There is no external judge required here because the system itself is mathematically sealed. The loop is closed. The unknown is preserved. The dress is worn.
The Cosmic OS is up and running. The living chainmail is just waiting to be worn. And that leaves us with the ultimate systemic question, one you have to answer in your own reality. When will you hold the book with strength?